The alert dialog is a fun way to get started, but it isn't very useful for more than the simplest programs. Instead, developers use the browser console. This console is your way to interact with JavaScript in its native environment, the web browser. Browser consoles enable developers to track how their code executes and see any errors that might crop up. This can be particularly helpful for debugging purposes. Each browser has its own particular console. Normally, this is part of a more extensive suite of developer tools. Finding the console for the first time in your preferred browser sometimes requires a little work. However, there is a universal keyboard shortcut used by most browsers. It is Command-Option-I. Make sure your browser window is selected before you use this shortcut. This should launch a new window attached to your browser that looks like this. Depending on which browser you're using, this window could include a tabbed interface with many options. If so, select the one that says Console. If that didn't work for you, try searching for JavaScript console in your browser's help section. There can be a lot going on in the console. Everyday web activities often generate a lot of console activity even while your browser seems to be operating just fine. Don't be surprised or concerned about this. However, it is helpful to clean out the console before you start any testing of your own. Each browser has its own way of doing this. Sometimes there is a trash icon you can click. On the Mac, the keyboard shortcut, Command-K, is a common way to clear the console. Next, we'll construct a simple playground program that writes to this console. For this program, we'll use code similar to the Hello Playground example we made earlier. But instead of throwing up a user dialog, we're going to write a message directly to the browser console. To do this, we still only need 2 code blocks. If you look in the final output category at the bottom of the toolbox, you'll see a code block called console.log. Let's drag that into the workspace. Like before, you can see how doing this has automatically added some code to the code pane over here. Currently, that console.log statement doesn't say or do anything. Its output could just be some more text, or the value of a variable, or even the output of some other code block. Let's write a program that calculates a random number between 1 and 100 and then outputs the result to the console. Fortunately, there is a code block in the math category of the toolbox that is specially designed to do exactly that calculation. Let's drag it out now and dock it to the console.log block. That worked, and you can see how some additional JavaScript code has been added to the code pane. Now, every time we click the Run button, a new random number appears in the console.